Multi-apping can drastically increase your income, but do you know the risks? Make sure to stick around to the end of the video so you don't make a mistake and find yourself in hot water for just trying to make a living. What's going on, everyone? I'm Zach Drives Fast for the Rideshare Guy, and today we're going to talk about increasing your income with the least risk possible. Before we get started, it is important to note that depending on how you choose to multi-app, you could potentially be within terms of service, or you could violate them and risk deactivation. The phrase multi-apping is used by delivery drivers to describe using multiple apps at the same time. The phrase can also refer to two different strategies. The first meaning to the phrase multi-apping is where you run multiple apps at the same time, you accept one order on one app, shut off the rest of your apps, complete that one order, and then turn your apps back on and repeat the process. The second meaning is to run multiple apps at the same time and accept multiple orders and do them all at the same time. Some people call this dirty multi-apping. This strategy allows drivers to increase their earnings by doing more orders. But it is important to note that this can violate the terms of service, and not to mention it can be quite stressful if you're not ready for it. This video is going to focus heavily on the second definition, so I'm only going to talk about safe multi-apping briefly. As far as 1099 delivery apps go, such as DoorDash and Uber Eats, we as independent contractors are free to accept and decline any order on any app that we choose to. There is absolutely no risk whatsoever to your account to accept a DoorDash order, complete it, and then accept an Uber Eats order, complete that one, and restart the process. Not only can you safely do this, but you should be doing this. These companies can deactivate us with or without a legitimate reason at any time. So if you're not activated on multiple apps, you're putting your ability to earn money at risk. Now, let's get into the second meaning for the phrase multi-apping. As I mentioned before, this is the practice of taking multiple orders on multiple apps at the same time. This video is for educational purposes only and should not be viewed as a how-to guide. Neither the Rideshare Guy nor myself accept any responsibility for the orders that you choose to accept or decline. You can look at this form of multi-apping as a fancy way of saying, I can't decide which app I want to work on, so I'm going to do them all at the same time. But in all seriousness, there are some very real rewards and some very real risks. You could potentially more than double your income while multi-apping while barely increasing the mileage on your car. Not only will it look pretty in your bank account, but it will help you increase the lifespan of your car. So all of that sounds great. Why shouldn't somebody multi-app? Depending on how you do it, at best, there is minimal risk to this approach. And at worst, you can get yourself deactivated from more than one app in just one day. While most terms of service don't explicitly say that drivers can't multi-app, most of them do say something along the lines of intentionally delaying a customer's order can result in deactivation. And it could be argued that by multi-apping, you are delaying somebody's order. That's why it's imperative to know your market. And knowing your market takes time. Don't think that just because you've been driving for a few months that you're ready to multi-app. I had been driving for over a year before I decided to start multi-apping this way. Now, I regularly multi-app and I've yet to run into a single issue. But I'm careful. I want to go into what I do and what I absolutely wouldn't do. But before we get into that, and before you even consider multi-apping, there are a few things that you need to know first. The first being, you have to know your market extremely well. For example, you need to know alternate routes off the top of your head to get to the same location and make sure that they're logical. Knowing your market could also include being aware of where the school zones are. You don't want to get stuck in a PTA roadblock when you're trying to be the biggest hustler that your market has ever seen. The schools in my market have early release every Thursday, so that changes the routes that I can safely take during lunch. You need to know about construction zones. Where are they? And are the roads closed or are they just slowed down? If you're not taking the most obvious route, could you possibly get stopped by a train that you can't get around? Consider using the app Waze so you know about road closures, accidents, speed traps, and roadkill. Seriously, I've used Waze for over 5 years, and it is by far the most accurate traffic reporting app that you can get. If there's an issue, you're going to know about it. Waze is a GPS app that crowdsources data. Not only will it show you slowdowns, but it'll tell you why it's slow. Having said all that, it's not just the city streets that you need to know. Knowing typical restaurant wait times is just as important. In my market, there's a restaurant that's a complete wild card. Depending on who's working, when you walk in, sometimes you're treated like royalty, and other times you'd swear you were invisible. One employee is all about the driver experience. Meanwhile, the owner is too busy taking selfies for Instagram to notice your existence. If I walk in and see 6 people standing there with hot bags, I'm not even checking on the order. I know who's there, and I know I'm going to be waiting. I'm turning right back around and unassigning the order. This is why it's important to keep your completion rate high. This is your get out of jail free card when somebody else doesn't have hustle. If you're multi-apping and you're waiting on an order, you're risking your account. A moment ago, I mentioned unassigning the order if I ever have to wait. This is why I try to keep my completion rate at least 90%. This gives me enough wiggle room to comfortably unassign an order, so I'm not making somebody wait, and therefore making them angry. All it takes is one customer calling support saying that you're at the wrong restaurant and haven't moved, and you could get deactivated. In my opinion, there's 3 different levels of risk tolerance when it comes to multi-apping. I want to start with the least risky, but I do need to stress upon you that that does not mean that it's without risk. Let's say you accept an order on DoorDash, picking up here, and your customer is there. While you're on your way to the pickup, Uber sends you an offer for the same restaurant delivering here. The same route will get you to both customers. Both of them could be watching their app and assume that you're on your way to them. I personally wouldn't even do this unless I knew both drop-off locations were going to be quick and easy. Essentially, I'm looking for anything that could potentially delay one of these orders. I'm talking about things like limited parking, secure buildings, apartments with gates that you don't have the code to. Basically, anything that could prevent you from walking up, dropping off the order, turning right back around, and walking back to your car. I want to give you another example of something that I view as a safe multi-app. Let's say that you accept an Uber Eats offer picking up here, and your customer lives here. Meanwhile, an offer from DoorDash comes through picking up here and dropping off to the customer there. In this example, the restaurants aren't particularly close together. However, the second pickup is on the way to the first customer. So, your first customer could be watching their app and think that you're on your way to them. Meanwhile, your second customer could also be watching the app and assume that you're on your way to pick up their order. This is the least risky form of multi-apping because both customers could watch you on their app and assume that you're working on their order. Let's get into a couple of examples that I view as moderately risky and things that I probably wouldn't do. For our first example, let's say both orders are picking up at the same restaurant, and your first customer is here, and your second customer is there. The logical route to your first customer would be to take the freeway. However, that isn't the logical route to your second customer. So instead, you choose to go this way. This will get you to both customers, but it could leave one of the customers questioning why you took that route rather than the faster way. Although it is pretty rare, I have had a few customers over the years scrutinize the route I was taking when I wasn't even multi-apping. I've always been respectful and explained that I'm taking the back way to avoid an accident, road closure, or some form of construction. I only bring this up to drive home the point that some customers do watch where we are. After all, they're hungry, and you're the person with their delicious food. Keep in mind, these are examples of things that I would not multi-app. Sticking with moderately risky, let's take a look at another example. Let's say your first order is picking up here, and your customer is there. Your second order is picking up here, and your second customer is there. Once you have both orders in the car, your route to both customers should look the same. However, in this example, one of your customers is going to know that you're not moving in the direction that you're supposed to be. Let's move on to the riskiest form of multi-apping. This is the type of multi-apping that you should never do under any circumstance. For our first example, let's assume that you're here, your first pickup is there, and your first customer is there. Your second pickup is here, and your second customer is there. Due to your positioning, you're going to have to move away from your customers to get to that second pickup. The mileage to your pickups or customers should never increase. If you make this mistake, at that point, the route doesn't matter. You've increased the distance between you and your customers, and that can get you deactivated. For our final example, let's assume that you're picking up at the same restaurant. So far, we're off to a good start. The issue is, one of our customers is up here while the other is down there. You should never multi-app an order where the route will not take you in the same general direction of both of your customers. I can't tell you whether you should or shouldn't multi-app, but what I will say, if you do choose to multi-app, make sure that you're not setting yourself up for failure by taking unnecessary risks. If you do make a mistake, mobile data and location services can be disabled for specific apps in your phone settings. This will stop both the company and the customer from seeing where you are. I do not encourage you to do this, but it is an option if you make an honest mistake. What are your thoughts? Do you multi-app? Let us know in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, please do consider pressing the like button and subscribing to the Rideshare Guy. If you enjoyed this video, you will most certainly enjoy this video where I break down the most common mistake that DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers make. I'm Zach Drives Fast for the Rideshare Guy. Take care.